Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Growfolds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at Lowe's off of Highway 121 in McKinney, Texas. As always, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video, as well as following me on Instagram at Growfolds. That is the fastest way to get in touch with me directly. And if you love daily 1-hour plant shopping videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Growfolds with the notification bell on. Plant foldies, you can see right over here, it is a gorgeous morning, and I decided to go ahead and visit another Lowe's to see what plants they have. It is the first week of October, so we're going to see what kind of plants they have available. I'm noticing that there are quite a bit of herbs starting to pop up again. You can see right here we've got some basil, and then we're going to just walk over here and see what other plants that they have. So I'm going to spend just a little bit of time in the outdoor section again to go showcase some of the outdoor plants. You already know plant foldies, and for those that are new to this channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. My name is Richie. Welcome. I like to go ahead and feature these plants that are also available for the outdoors. You can see we've got a papaya tree right over here. Now for my grow zone, which is 8B North Dallas, I wouldn't be able to grow a papaya tree in the landscape, in the ground, just because we do have some pretty cold winters, and that is a tropical plant. What I find interesting as well is I've mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but we see a lot of these Croton plants, like Croton petra, for instance, is a plant that we'll see especially in the fall season. And I think it's because it does have that foliage where it has more of a fall vibe to it. Again, Croton plants, though, are native to Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines, where they pretty much just grow rampant in tropical environments. So I find it interesting that we have a bunch of Croton plants that are growing in little containers for the patio garden in cooler weathers. I will say that Crotons don't necessarily have the best tolerance when it comes to colder weather. If they get sort of like a colder freeze or something of that nature, they will definitely shed their leaves and drop them. And then you can see right here, we do have a bunch of these papaya trees. And, I visited the Philippines back in August, and I just remember seeing papaya trees growing on the sides of the roads. Nobody was really taking care of them, but there were a bunch of papaya trees. And that just goes to show that a lot of the plants that we do see whenever we go big box or plant shopping, they do come from a different source, and typically these sources are not necessarily conducive to the native environment that they came from. You can see here though, they do have grapes. So if you want to grow your own grape trees, we do have those available at a big box store. But as I spin around here, a lot of these mixed planters, whether it's alocasias mixed with Croton plants, these actually start to pop up, especially in the fall season. I don't know if it's just fall is the season to have a bunch of mixed planters. This is an Asiatic jasmine that I really want to know the plant ID. And the reason being is, look at that beautiful variegation. It's got that orange color to it. It's got some of the cream colors. I'm flipping over to see if they have the plant ID for that. Unfortunately, I don't know that. So plant foldies, again, if you know the plant ID for that particular plant or any of the plants that I might show, please leave in the comment section under a timestamp. I would really love to know the plant IDs for specific plants. And you can see over here, I feature this in almost all of my videos currently, all of these chrysanthemums or mums. And what I love about chrysanthemums or mums is just that mounding shape that they have. They are perennial plants. And for those that don't know what a perennial is, it's basically a plant that you can put in a landscape depending on your grow zone, where they will come back year after year. I mean, look at this right here. Look at how beautiful those white blooms are. Mums are readily available, especially in the fall season. They are, you can find mums throughout the season, throughout the spring and summer, but they really start to populate whenever it is a fall season. So I don't know if it's just another seasonally relevant plant. And as you can see right here, it is such a gorgeous morning to be out and about looking at plants. I have been really partial to Lowe's, and I think it's because Lowe's, of all the big box stores as of current, I feel like Lowe's has the most selection, especially when you talk about indoor tropical plants, specifically Costa Farms plants, live trend plants. That's the reason why I like to go to Lowe's locations. But as you can see, they have the outdoor section, and I remember featuring a lot of the outdoor plants like the petunias. I even called the petunias the flower of the hour. It just seemed like petunias were so readily available. And petunias, they have so many hybrids, and it goes to show that a lot of plants, as we continue to develop them and hybridize them, they just become even more interesting. What it is also interesting is that we have a bunch of these alocasias available, Alocasia california, but they are a little bit more challenging to grow indoors. And then we have violas right here, which is basically a more miniature version of pansies. Look at that color. I love that it has that purple color mixed with the yellow. Purple and yellow are complementary colors on the color wheel. So whenever you put those two together, they really populate and, have a nice pop of color is what I mean. But I do love that they have those instant colors. And then Silosa plants. So these are for $14.98. I love the texture of the leaves, and then look at the blooms right there. Look at that. That is so interesting. So I haven't ever grown these plants long term. I've never really had one in my garden, but these actually have started to populate as well. In the fall season. And then now we're going to be walking inside the indoor tropical area in just a bit, but we are going to look at the outdoor garden section. So this particular Lowe's has a really good organization in terms of just their outdoor plants. So I'm just going to pan around and show you what I'm seeing. One plant that I've seen a resurgence of availability would be coleus plants. So I love coleus plants. These are in mixed planters right here. Look at that vibrant color of the coleus plant. And when you talk about a plant that has been hybridized, there are so many different varieties of coleus plants. And the thing about coleus plant, they're very easy to hybridize because they do bloom. So cross-pollinating them and getting seeds is pretty easy. And then also to actually propagate them, all you have to do is literally take a cutting. You can stick a coleus cutting into direct soil. About 3 to 4 days it will root. So that is how easy this particular plant is. And you can see that this one is actually in bloom. Coleus plants, whenever their blooms populate, they actually have more of like a lavender color. They have very tiny seeds, but you can gather them and grow coleus from seed. I know that if you're looking to be more cost effective in growing your coleus plants, you can get a bunch of coleus seeds and grow them from seed, and you'll have many of them to pick from. But I also love showcasing encore azalea. So azaleas in general, for me, I love Japanese gardens, and for my personal garden, I am working on a Japanese garden in my backyard. Azaleas, unfortunately for me, haven't done very well. The thing about azaleas, what I would recommend is if you do plant them in the ground, you really need to make sure that you keep their roots pretty moist. Like, you don't really want the soil to dry out completely. If you're able to kind of overwater them, I would say they're going to do better. After 2 to 3 years, they're going to be more established to the point where they actually can be more drought tolerant. But for azaleas, you definitely want to make sure that you are watering them consistently the first 2 to 3 years that you plant them in the ground. And then over here, this is a Monrova plant right here. I love that lavender bloom it has, but also the dark foliage. And can I say that dark foliage plants are just elegant? And whether it's for an indoor tropical plant that you grow indoors, or if it's an outdoor garden, I would always say that dark foliage plants are just a certain elegance about them. And it is about to be Halloween. I just still can't believe that it's literally the first week of October, but it just seems like time is going by so fast. I have been going to some big box stores, and I've seen some really cute Halloween planters, some skull planters, some pumpkin planters. So if you're into that decor, this is a time to do so. And you can see that this particular Lowe's has its own little fall vibe going on with the pumpkins and also the Croton plants. Like, who would have thought that a tropical plant like a Croton plant would become a centerpiece for a fall type setting? Now you can see plant foldies. I'm going to just show you all of these succulents and cactus. Like, this one is an echeveria right here. Elfstone, look at that structure on this particular echeveria or succulent plant. I do love the fact that Lowe's has many succulent plants to choose from. These are by Oasis Plants right here. And then this one is the Echeveria Lola. Really love the Echeveria Lola. But my thing about it is with echeverias or succulents, This one isn't a perfect structure. You can see that some of the foliage has kind of rotted off, and that might be because they might have overwatered it. You know, with succulents and cactus, you don't want standing water sitting on any of the actual foliage for too long, because it can potentially rot that out. As a rule of thumb, you want to make sure that your succulents and cactus have fast draining soil. You want to keep them more so on the drier side, and if you're able to give them as much bright light, I would do so. But as I pan around here, it is fall season. I feel like it's almost like Halloween, but we still have about 3 weeks before Halloween, and you can just see that everybody is putting out all of that fall color. For me, I like fall season, especially when the leaves start to change. So like, I love Japanese maples, or what you call Acer palmatum. I do intend to go to Metro Maples, which is a Japanese maple farm that I want to go check out and showcase. I've featured it before, but I really do want to see all of the beautiful fall colors. But as you can see right here, Lowe's does a very good job of keeping their plants healthy, keeping their plants organized, even year round. They don't seem to really downsize a lot of their selections. I've seen Home Depot do that, but Lowe's has been a really good advocate in just trying to keep their selection pretty full. Like this one is a Splash of Energy Mum. This is for $11.98, so you can see that it is more of a hybrid mum. I'm going to try to find one that has a fuller bloom to really just give you an idea of what the blooms look like. So you can see right here, look at how gorgeous the bloom shape is. Even the petals have a unique shape. I have been tempted to purchase more chrysanthemums, but the thing about it is, chrysanthemums, if you're going to grow them, you want to make sure that you consistently water them. And then over here, ornamental kale. So these are for $5.48. Ornamental kale start to pop up when the weather starts to get a little bit cool. These are considered annual plants. I'm not sure if they're actually edible, but I will say that they have some Japanese varieties that look super cool. Ornamental kale are typically used as like ground cover for the cooler months. So like, you know, obviously in the fall, winter, that's when you see more of that. And then you can see we've got a bunch of echinacea, or what you call the cone flowers. Beautiful plant as well. It does have some medicinal properties where echinacea actually boosts the immune system. So I don't know if these are ones that you can utilize as an actual tea, but that's also another thing that fascinates me, plant foldies, is the medicinal purposes of some of these outdoor plants, these gardens, these herbs, something that I really want to touch base on. And then as you can see right here, we do have a hanging basket of some bougainvillea. Love bougainvilleas, but the thing is, we can't grow them in North Dallas. Like, our grow zone will just not allow us to grow them in our landscapes. Like, obviously, if you're going to grow bougainvillea, you want to make sure that you're going to grow them in a container. I've had them as bonsai before, and so those are, you know, plants that I just get a little bit jealous with certain climates. You know, I feel like California, for instance, a California West Coast, just being on the coast, you can pretty much grow all these plants year round. Like, for instance, even these succulents and cactus, I do like this arrangement that they have. I love that they use a Tradescanthia nanook. It looks like they've got a beautiful echeveria here. And when you talk about perfection, that is such a beautiful plant. And I know a lot of us may not be into succulents and cactus. I mean, myself included, I wasn't really paying attention to succulents and cactus, but the more I take a look at them, the more time I spend just kind of like looking and really admiring even the minute details of them. They're pretty cool plants, and that's something that I do want to add to my collection eventually, is just having more succulents and cactus. I feel like there is a whole new world that's really untapped from my plant journey. And then, you know, plant foldies for me, for those that love succulents and cactus, what are the cactus that you like? What are the ones that you actually enjoy? Please leave that in the comments. I know that I often ask for comments in the comment section, and that's the reason why is because I love the interactive feature of you know, our plant community. You know, the plant foldie community comes on strong. You guys always come on to these live premiere chats. I'm so thankful you guys have been very forgiving for me to just not be able to like upload daily 1-hour plant shopping videos this week. I've really been inconsistent, but I am really trying hard to catch up. You know, with work being so hectic this week, it's been a great day, you know, been great, you know, week for work, but I just haven't been able to catch up. So I do thank all of those that have actually still tuned in to all of my plant videos I've been able to upload. One of my favorite flowering succulents would be a calanchoe. So this is a typical one that you would see at like grocery stores or in the floral department. That one is one that actually blooms. And take a look at this cactus right here. Like, look at the texture of it. Look at the shape. These, are by Oasis Plants again. You can see that the plant pricing for succulents and cactus are actually pretty cost effective. Now, if I were to grow succulents and cactus, I would definitely use soil, or what you would call bonsai soil, for their substrate. And then obviously everybody's favorite here, this is a Hydra Helix. This one is for $4.68. So this is one that some people would consider as a ground cover that you can put in your landscape. But here is my warning about English ivy. They are considered an invasive plant. So if you're going to put them in your landscape, just know that they can take over an entire wall. Just know that they could choke out an entire lawn. So if you're going to grow English ivy, you want to make sure that they have a border around where they can't really escape, because these are pretty vigorous plants when you grow them outdoors. Growing them indoors, however, is another challenge, which makes them probably one of the most challenging plants to grow as a house plant indoors, because they are spider mite magnets whenever you bring them indoors. If you grow them outdoors, they do fine. They will thrive. If you put them in a shaded area, they will just grow for you. Another plant that I would love to be able to grow indoors would be a Fatsa japonica, or a Japanese Aralia. This is a Aralia japonica. Beautiful plant, and they have the variegated versions. They have one called the camouflage one, and also the spider web. This one is the green form. This can actually grow as a perennial in my grow zone, which is 8B. I've seen these actually survive a winter where they would just kind of grow dormant, or they would lose the majority of their leaves, but they can tolerate it to the point where they can actually grow back as a full established plant like this in the springtime. So Fatsa japonica, or Japanese Aralia, love that. That would be another plant that I would try to grow indoors. And then you can see right here we have coral bells. Really love the fall vibe that it gets. Now, these are definitely ones that you can put as a ground cover. This one is for $6.98, and this would be also another plant, at least in my grow zone, would be considered an annual plant. And coleus. So that's the thing about fall season as well. I find that there is a resurgence of certain plants. So, for coleus, this was only for $1.98. I love coleus plants. I used to not pay attention to them at all. I used to think coleus plants were kind of just like a generic container plant that you could do. You can grow in a patio, but the more I look at coleus plants, the more I get excited in the fact that they have so many different colors. They are pretty fast growers. They are easy to propagate. The only thing about coleus plants is they are very thirsty plants. So you want to make sure that you stay on top of the watering. Growing coleus outside for me has been really easy, because I can just have a sprinkler system, just water them. I mean, this one for $4.98, I'm almost tempted to purchase it, because look at how beautiful and vibrant the colors are. When you talk about the vibrant colors of a particular plant, coleus plants are a thing. And I think a lot of plants that have a lot of vibrant colors, for instance, Croton plants, Aglaonema, I guess it's because I love vibrant colors. Like this one right here, that's beautiful. And the thing about it is, coleus plants, you can grow them indoors. You can grow them indoors long term. Very easy plants. You can take multiple cuttings from them. And when you talk about a Costa Farms trend where they'll label a plant fun to share, coleus plants are definitely fun to share, because they are so easy to propagate. Like literally, you can pinch off the top of this plant right here, stick it in soil, and like a week later you have a brand new plant. Now, I wouldn't recommend just pinching off cuttings off of these plants at a big box store or a local nursery store. I definitely don't want to encourage people to prop lift, because that is considered stealing, and that's something that I do not tolerate. I've read instances where people have actually gone into a big box store and taken cuttings off of plants. That is not okay. And I really feel like that gives a lot of people a bad rep in terms of just when people go to these plant shows. It's crazy the amount of lengths that people do to try to get a free plant. I always say, if you don't know, go ahead and ask. The worst thing somebody can tell you is no, but I don't think that actually going into a big box store or to somebody's personal collection or a botanical garden and cutting off cuttings even if it's just a small cutting is okay. And it's just sad because I remember reading about somebody who actually did that, and for me that's just very deceitful. And so I hope that if you're ever tempted to go ahead and get yourself a plant cutting at a big box store, please do not do that. Just go ahead and ask a friend if you can get a cutting, or just buy the plant. Anyways, let me get off of my rant. I know Plant Foldies that, in the last couple of plant shopping videos, I've really just been giving you guys a lot of my insights. Again, I just love doing these plant shopping videos because I utilize it more as like a personal blog. I feel like I can talk to you guys. I feel like, it's like me talking to you and you're just following me around through the big box store. Like, I always love looking at terracotta planters. That is my planter of choice if I'm going to ask for a classic planter. And I love just seeing these beautiful mounds of chrysanthemum or mums right here. Look at how gorgeous this is. And when this finally just goes into full bloom, it is just going to be spectacular. I get really tempted to buy these seasonal plants like mums. I remember a couple years back I actually bought a bunch of mums, and I actually made little bonsai bonsai. Yes, it's not really common. I wish I could find some of my old pictures of some of the mums. But anyways, now we're going to go ahead and walk into the indoor tropical section. So I'm not 100% sure whether this Lowe's has gotten a restock. There are a couple of trending tropical plants by Costa Farms that I'm really looking for. I'm looking for the Epipremnum pinnatum albo, the Epipremnum pinnatum cebu blue pothos, as well as the Syngonium albo. Those were a couple of new releases that Costa Farms has. So that's why I've been going to a lot of these Lowe's places just to see if they have those new releases. You can see right here, Costa Farms has this really awesome looking dogtail cactus. Now this one is in an 8-inch planter for $20.24. Now, if I wasn't to get a dogtail cactus, now this is considered a tropical type cactus, I would get the 6-inch hanging basket versus the 8-inch. Like I said in all of my other videos, I feel like the 8-inch hanging baskets take up a lot of surface space. They tend to be a little bit heavier, and I'm still a little bit cautious about like drilling holes into my ceiling. Even though I do own my home, I just don't know if I want to put so many holes in my ceiling. And then over here you can see that they've got a mixed planter of a bromeliad. I love bromeliads. They're so pretty. I just love that they're very colorful, and they actually have many different varieties of bromeliads. I've noticed that they have a overflow of plants at this Lowe, so they put this on a different rack. This one is for $22.98. So this is a mixed planter of some Philodendron hederaceum Brazil. We've also got a Dracaena Florida Beauty, as well as a bromeliad. All of these actually have about the same lighting condition requirements that they have. So this actual planter makes sense. I've seen a lot of these mixed planters of plants where you have several plants that are either low light tolerant, drought tolerant, and then they have one that is like super needy for water. And so whenever you're looking at these mixed planters, do your research on what plants are specifically in the mixed planter before you actually pick it up. I do love these live trend hanging baskets of planters. Even the ceramic ones, like this is a gorgeous Epipremnum Epipremnum aureum golden pothos. You can't go wrong with a golden pothos, actually any pothos. So last night I actually took a bunch of cuttings of pothos. I would say 50 plus cuttings of pothos, and I'm going to be water propagating them and also creating another full basket of mixed pothos cuttings. So we'll see what that looks like. And then this is another beautiful hanging basket of some red maranthas. So these maranthas tend to be a little bit less finicky as compared to a calathea. So I really like the fact that you can get a marantha like this, and you can actually try to keep this alive. I feel like you have a higher success rate of not sending that to plant heaven. And then you can see right over here, here is another Live Trends planter, $24.98. I really love that as well. This one is a silver band marantha. This is another one that I actually own. Love the look of a silver band marantha. Really like the look of that, and it looks absolutely stunning. So definitely think that if you're going to add maranthas into your plant collection, I would definitely look at the silver band marantha, as well as the red marantha. Maranthas in general, if you're going to pick a finicky plant, you might as well go with that versus a calathea, just in my opinion. And then Urban Jungle has these new terracotta planters. This one is more of like a bonsai type look about it. This is a ficus ginseng bonsai, and you know, with any ficus, you really want to provide it with quite a bit of bright light. Otherwise, the ficus tree or the ficus plant will end up shedding its leaves. This one is an easy to care for plant regardless, though. You just have to make sure you give it the lighting conditions that it requires. Now we're going to take a look at this Geonanthus plant or Geoplant for $19.98. You can see that it is still fairly healthy. So I remember purchasing one from a Lowe's not too long ago. Notice how the leaves of the edges of the leaves start to crisp up. That's what happens when you don't water that plant consistently. So it is a very finicky plant. Here is an Epipremnum Epipremnum aureum lemon meringue pothos. Beautiful pothos. This is a Costa Farms patented pothos plant. It is like a sport mutation of the global green pothos. This one tends to have more of a yellowish tone about it, depending on the lighting conditions you give. It also has a smaller leaf shape as compared to the global green pothos. That one is for $19.98. And then this is an example of a fairly healthy looking geo plant. Now, Costa Farms just released a bunch of geo plants, and what makes me sad though is this plant I feel like may not sell as much. So a lot of these might end up going to plant heaven. This plant is actually a pretty hard plant to keep alive if you are one that does not water often. Literally, I have to water this plant every other day. I actually get the leaves soaked, because if you don't, that plant will start to crisp up. It does like higher humidity levels. Epipremnum alplesimum silver streak pothos. Love this plant. It's an easy to care for plant. It's a very forgiving plant. It's an easy plant to also propagate. So it is actually checking a lot of the boxes that I like if I'm going to actually add a plant into my plant collection. This one is also for $19.98. Trending Tropicals Costa Farms plants. And you know, for those that are watching this video, do you collect a lot of the Trending Tropical plants by Costa Farms? What are your opinions of Costa Farms? Please leave that in the comments, because I'd really like to know your insights. And this is a prime example of what happens to a Geonanthus plant when you don't water it. It ends up looking like that. It is literally on the verge of going to plant heaven. This one is still looking pretty healthy. So if I were to purchase one of the geo plants today, this would probably be the one that I would pick up. I was actually really surprised because I have a plant room that stays about 70% humidity levels, but if you don't end up watering the plant, that's when you end up getting into some trouble with it. And so geo plant, it would be a plant that I'm hoping I don't send to plant heaven, but I could totally understand why people struggle with that. That plant is actually a pretty finicky plant to begin with. It wouldn't be a plant I would recommend for anybody that's beginning their plant journey. Then you can see that we've got some Kokodama type, Phalaenopsis orchids here. You know, the surprising thing about Phalaenopsis orchids, no matter what time of the year, you will see a Phalaenopsis orchid. I literally see a Phalaenopsis orchid in person pretty much every day, because as you know, plant foldies, I end up going to a big box store, some type of nursery, some type of place that sells plants, and you will, typically see a Phalaenopsis orchid. And I have to laugh at myself at times. I have this routine, plant foldies, where I will go rush out of work and go film plants, or I will go before work to film plants, or I will spend my Tuesday literally filming plants all day so I can have a bunch of plant content. It just so happens that this week I had some really busy times at work to where I really got behind. So again, plant foldies, I appreciate the viewership that you give me. I know a lot of these big box store plants, you've seen this plant like the other day, last week, last month, 3 months ago, but it's just fun for me to just talk about plants. This one right here, I can never get tired of a Ficus elastica burgundy. Now, the thing about this Ficus elastica burgundy is I've noticed that if you don't give it nearly as much light, it starts to revert back more so to be more of like a green tone versus that black burgundy tone. And that's another dark foliage plant I absolutely love. And can we say how gorgeous this Calathea lancifolia or Calathea rattlesnake plant is, this is one that's super tempting. Calatheas, I have 3 Calatheas. All of them are doing well. We'll see how long they'll last in my care. But the Calathea lancifolia or rattlesnake Calathea is a common one, but it's one that has a really unique texture to the leaves. I love the pattern. I love the purple undersides. There's just so much foliage interest with this plant. It's just a finicky plant. But ever since I started discovering semi-hydroponics, I'm curious to see if I could actually convert a Calathea into like growing in pond. So for those that actually grow hydroponic plants, like, grow their plants in a substrate like pond or leca, let me know if your Calatheas actually do well. Like this one right here, beautiful plant. I have this Calathea rospicta. Actually ended up buying it for $18.84 at Home Depot in a 10-inch planter. So it's actually pretty massive. The plant is doing well. And as a reminder, actually, I probably need to take all 3 of my big Calatheas, take them into my shower and just water them. I've noticed that if I just take plants to my shower and shower them down, it just makes it easier. So I'll just take a bunch of plants, put them in the shower, take my shower hose and then just shower them down. And it's just easier versus taking a watering can and watering every single plant. I also believe that whenever you take a plant and take them into the shower, I think, showering and watering the tops of the leaves, the bottom of the leaves, in between the stems, and obviously the top of the soil, it can get rid of potential dust, plant pests, and just keeps the plants clean. And you can see right here, they do have a little clearance area. I don't really want to show you the clearance plants because it's pretty sad. These plants are beyond plant heaven. I think at that point they're in purgatory, about to go to plant heaven. So, that's the thing about, big box store plant shopping videos. Again, plant foldies, I urge all of us to consume these plants, to buy these plants, because you know what? If we don't buy these plants are going to end up in plant heaven. Actually, they're just going to end up in the trash. And, after visiting Steve's Leaves Nursery and just seeing the amount of time and effort to propagate these plants and to grow them, I could say the same thing about Urban Jungle. Like this is a beautiful hanging basket of Epipremnum aureum, Enjoy Pothos, one of my favorite pothos. It's a slow growing pothos, but I even love the planter, how it's got that same color as the variegation of this plant. But if this plant doesn't end up making it to a home, it just ends up being tossed away. And that's really the sad reality of the plant market. There's a lot more plants that are produced, but less consumers actually consuming the plants. So I just hope that I can at least influence everybody. Let's all get like 200 plants in our plant collection. Let's save the plants. I'm just kidding. But you get what I mean. As far as just going to a big box store, though, a lot of these plants do end up in plant heaven. And I just hope that if you're ever in a big box store and you feel inclined to rescue a plant, go ahead and do so with the notice that that potential plant is going to have some time to have to be rehabbed. It's probably going to have some plant pests, so you're going to have to be prepared for that. I've been eyeing more Syngoniums, and this 6-inch planter of Syngonium hanging basket, this one is a Syngonium white butterfly by Costa Farms, $16.98. Really like the look of that. But whenever I compare plant pricing, I could find an 8-inch hanging basket of a Syngonium by Urban Jungle at Kroger for $12.99. But again, I mean, if this plant ends up going to 50% off, I will totally buy these Syngoniums. I'm back into my Syngonium era where I'm pretty much picking up any type of Syngonium I run into. I just feel like Syngoniums are so easy to take care of, to the point where, like, why not add that back into your plant collection? I'm really all about that. Plant collection. If you're going to add more plants to your plant collection, is what I'm saying, find easy to care for plants. Like this is an Epipremnum aureum Marble Queen Pothos. I'm also in my propagation era where I'm literally taking as many cuttings of Pothos and propagating them because I want to multiply my Pothos collection. I would rather have several Pothos, dozens and dozens of Pothos, versus having plants that are going to be a little bit more finicky. Like for instance, the Geonanthus plant, or that Geo plant, as beautiful as that dark foliage is, I would rather have a Pothos plant, Syngoniums, Aglaonema, even bromeliads like this that would be easier to care for, because then it's less stress, more joy and happiness. And when it comes down to it, plant foldies, I say this in all my videos, plants make people happy. Plants should not stress you out. Plants should not break your bank. And so even looking at this Dracaena Dorado, and it's really interesting. They put it in that terracotta planter. Look at how gorgeous that is. Like, look at how simplistic the planter is, but also taking a plant like a Dracaena Dorado, it's an easy to care for plant. It's one that's not going to give you a lot of stress. And so for me, for $12.97, I would go ahead and just buy this plant versus buying a Calathea that 9 times out of 10 ends up going into plant heaven. Like, I really want to know, anybody who watches my videos, please leave in the comments if you've actually kept a Calathea alive for more than a year and a half. If you have, then that means you are a plant pro. Like this one right here, I have this Calathea in my plant collection. I ended up buying it for $18.84. This is a Calathea Dottie, and typically this is a Trending Tropicals Costa Farms Calathea that you would pay like $19.98. But I found it for a better deal. So I figured, if the price is right, let's go ahead and take a slight risk and see if I can actually grow the plant. It's still living for me, and so I'm super excited about that. It is a beautiful plant, and I don't know what it is about Mother Nature, but sometimes the most flamboyant, the most beautiful plants are the most difficult to grow versus the plants that may not be as flashy, may not be as rare or uncommon, but those plants are the ones that just bring you joy. And so if you're going to ask me easy to care for plants, my top 5 list would be definitely ZZ plant. That's number 1. Number 2 would be Epipremnum aureum or Pothos plants. Number 3 would be Aglaonema. Number 4 would be Syngoniums. And then number 5, I would also say Dracaenas. Those 5 easy to care for plants are plants that I would say if you're going to go to like a big box store like Lowe's, Walmart, or Home Depot to do your plant shopping, I would look for those 5 plants. And I want to do a feature when I'm not doing a big box or plant shopping video of easy care for plants. That way I can direct you into the right direction in terms of just starting your plant collection. Now, these Calathea orchids, though, I do find they're a pretty good price. Like you can see, this is a Vanda orchid, and Better Grow orchids are some of the best orchids. They're pretty healthy. You can get some pretty exotic ones for a pretty cost-effective price. And with orchids, you consider those epiphytes. These particular orchids are not the typical Phalaenopsis orchids, and you can see that you got the orchid grow mix. I actually buy that bag, mix it up with my Fox Farm potting mix, and it becomes more of a chunky aroid mix. You can see right here, they do have a bunch of these Phalaenopsis orchids, and I have a Phalaenopsis orchids. It's currently not in bloom. It's a variegated one, but it's still doing fairly well for me. With Phalaenopsis orchids, as far as a substrate, never ever plant them in potting mix. You always want to plant them in a orchid bark mix, or sometimes if it's a Vanda orchid, you can literally just have their roots exposed. You can put it in a crate. You can put it on something that is just going to hang in the ceiling, because these orchids, even Phalaenopsis orchids, will take the moisture and actually water itself from the moisture in the air. But you can see right here, they do have a bunch of these Kokedama type Phalaenopsis orchids, and Phalaenopsis orchids, I do encourage people to buy those. Those actually grow pretty easily as well. And then it just, this so happens to be one of the other plants I've been eyeing for a while. This is an Especia plant, or what you call a flame violet. If you notice how gorgeous the leaves are, they've got a metallic shine about them. They're kind of similar to African violets, but this one is actually pretty easy to grow. They're really easy to propagate, because as you can see right here, this is actually shooting out a little bit of babies. It's kind of similar to like a spider plant. You can chop off those babies and propagate them in water, and then voila, you have a new plant. And Urban Jungle, I feel like if they had more simplistic ceramic hanging basket planters, I would buy more of them. But this is only for $16.98. What a beautiful, elegant looking silver band Marantha. That is another Marantha I've added to my collection. It is a little bit more forgiving because I don't water it nearly as much. What I like about Maranthas is before they start crisping on the edges of the leaves, you really have to have underwatered them. Otherwise, they just start to curl up, and that is a signal to be like 911. We need to go ahead and give you some water. Otherwise, you're going to lose the plant. But this is a beautiful plant. I'm glad that it's become more readily available, because this one used to be quite uncommon, maybe even rare a couple years years back. And then over here in a 6-inch planter is a red Photonia of some sort. Love Photonias. They're very tempting to buy because they are so beautiful. But in my type of conditions for my plant care conditions, I don't water nearly as much. And so this is a plant that I need to not put in my plant collection because it is a very thirsty plant. There's actually an Earseen rose plant that I bought where literally I have almost sent it to plant heaven about 3 times this week. So I have to put that plant right in front of my sink. That way I'm reminded to water the plant versus like putting it away. But you can see here the Urban Jungle planters. I love that they have that, you know, UJ etched into it. This is for $22.94. Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf tree. This is another beautiful plant. And you know, the Ficus lyrata I have in my plant collection hasn't been as finicky. I feel like I need to water it a little bit more consistently. That way it can actually push out more growth, but it's doing very well for me. And then this one is not the best healthy looking philodendron moonlight. It's still beautiful, but it's one of those plants that either has been overwatered or underwatered. And I'm noticing that the plants, at least in this Lowe's, may not be the most healthy looking plants. And that's the reason why I feel like these plants need to either be clearanced out or they need to do another restock with some more brand new plants, because I'm noticing that a lot of their plants, as they try to keep on merchandise, they're not as healthy. And you know, that also happens with some of the big box stores. Some big box stores are not created equal. They are literally, it depends on the big box store whether the plants are super healthy or not. I mean, I am seeing some pretty good quality cactus right here. This one is a dogtail cactus. You can see there's a lot of new growth for it, and that's super cute. That one is for $20.24. And then we're seeing a beautiful Urban Jungle. I love the actual ceramic planter of this one. I don't mind the texture and pattern because it kind of matches this green Marantha. Like, so you've seen the red Marantha, you've seen the green Marantha, and then the silver band Marantha. So like those are the 3 common ones you would find. The green one is really has some really stark greenery around it. I really do like the pattern of these leaves. And again, this one has had some leaves crisp up, but it's not that bad at all. I would say that one probably needs to go on clearance. And then Philodendron heteroecium Brazil, this one is for $16.98. Again, I wouldn't mind buying some more Urban Jungle ceramic planters, especially the hanging ones, because they do have some pretty healthy looking ones. I love that Philodendron heteroecium Brazil does have like a natural shine about it. Really nice looking plant. And you know, it's an easy to care for plant. That's another thing I was going to mention. In my top 6, I would also put philodendrons as a genus of plants that typically has some easy to care for plants. Not all of them. And then we're going to look at this. So I've also liked looking at some of the planters. I love that navy blue tone about it, the matte finish, and even the texture of this particular planter. It's got a modern vibe about it, so I don't mind that at all. Whenever you're looking at some of the planters, at least for me, I like to have more simplicity aesthetics when it comes to the planter, because as I say in all my videos, I would rather have the focus more so on the plant versus the planter. Some people may disagree with me, but that's just my opinion. And you can see right here, they've got a curator or kind of like a terrarium type setup by Live Trends. And I have to say, Live Trends has some really unique, very creative ways to display some of their plants. And then this is a begonia I have been super tempted to purchase. If I find one in a 6-inch planter like this that is a little bit more healthy, I would end up buying this begonia Red Kiss, because what I like about this begonia is, look at the edges of the leaves. They've got that black edge around it, but the new growth comes in with this like burgundy maroon tone, and then it becomes silver. And to me, that's really exciting. And after going to Steve's Leaves Nursery, and if you are watching this video and you've never bought from Steve's Leaves, please buy from stevesleaves.com. They ship to any part of the United States. They have some phenomenal plants, and they are really known for the begonias. But seeing even this begonia, I want this Rex begonia, but the problem with Rex begonia is that they are a little bit more challenging to grow. I would recommend not watering their leaves or their stems. You really want to try to bottom water, or at least water at the base of the plant to make sure you're not getting that wet. Beautiful Urban Jungle plant, Epipremnum aureum neon pothos, $16.98 in neon pothos. I go back and forth with pothos plants, and I don't know if you're also in the same boat whenever I talk about pothos, because really any pothos plant, when you really sit down and just look at it, yes, it's a basic plant. Yes, it's a common plant. Yes, it's an inexpensive plant. And yes, it's an easy to care for plant. why would you not want to add that to your plant collection? I know that some people used to make fun of me when I'm like, yeah, my plant collection is a bunch of pothos plants. I'm constantly propagating it. And they always look at me and they're like, Richie, why? Well, to me, it's cheap. It's easy to care for, and whenever you start to let them trail down or even let them grow up a totem pole, they just look stunning. Like having this golden pothos right next to the neon pothos, and then maybe getting a marble queen pothos. All three of those would be really nice hanging planters that you could hang above like a ceiling, in front of your window, and they are just easy to care for plants. And that's the thing, again, plant foldies, as I do these plant shopping videos, as I continue to make plant content, I'm going to be very direct and blunt about some of the plants I feel like everybody should add into your collection. If you're going to call yourself a plant foldie, let's go ahead and get ourselves some pothos plants. Let's go ahead and obsess over aglaonemas. Let's go ahead and buy some coleus plants. Those are the plants I really want to push into your plant collections, because I feel like that's going to bring you some joy because they're easy to care for. And then over here, plant foldies, we've got a Scindapsus exotica. So this one is one of the larger leaf Scindapsus, and I love Scindapsus, but the thing about Scindapsus is they're a little bit more of a thirsty plant. I don't like how they curl up when they're actually when they're actually thirsty. The thing about it is Scindapsus are also a slower version of a pothos plant. And so if I'm going to have a plant that's similar, something that's trailing, I would rather find one that's a little bit more vigorous. Like if you're going to compare a pothos plant, a philodendron heteroraceum, or Scindapsus, I would put Scindapsus as my third choice. Nothing wrong against, Scindapsus are still fairly easy to take care of. I'm just not as big of a fan of them. I am a fan of the bird's nest fern, like this one right here, because these can get into massive sizes. I also like the neon color of this particular fern. The thing about it is, just haven't added it to my plant collection. I am excited though, because I am off this weekend, plant foldy, so I will be able to do a lot of plant styling, a lot of cleanup, and just be able to relax. I think I've overworked myself the last 2 to 3 weeks, and it's really caught up with me to this week, where I literally physically could not film plants. I couldn't make new content, and it really made me feel bad. I was honestly concerned that you guys would lose interest. And truthfully, I feel like if I don't post as often or don't get the viewership, I feel like I would probably be punished by the algorithm. And so for those that want to continue to push my content out to more plant lovers like yourself, if you made it this far, please make sure you are hitting the like button. Please make sure you're leaving comments. And if you have social media, please share my channel with other plant lovers like yourself. Now, this is another beautiful prayer plant. So this is similar to the Marantha plant. Look at how gorgeous this is. And what I like about the leaves of this particular plant is it has more of like a feathery look about it. It's one that I would definitely, consider adding into my collection. I have a variegated form, but if you're going to pick between a calathea or the prayer plant right there, I would pick that. And again, $7.98. Let's all buy ourselves a Dracaena, a Dorado, easy to care for plant. It's a plant that Costa Farms consistently pushes out to a lot of big box stores. It's one that I would hope, if I can see in the comments, you guys adding into your plant collection. And as I go around here, you can see that this one is a Dracaena Tornado. Love this. This is only for $13.98 by Urban Jungle. And as it gets larger, you can see the leaves kind of spinning around and it looks more like a tornado. Love the simplistic look of Urban Jungle. And it's nice to see new planters come out and get released. And then you can see right here, we've got a bunch of Haworthias by Live Trends. You can see that this planter right here, I'm not really a fan. There's just too much going on. I would rather it just be more of a simplistic one, but surprisingly, a Haworthia, even though it is a succulent, it is lower light tolerant. I need to add one into my collection because I have spaces in my home that doesn't get nearly as much light, that I would like to have something like this. Like this one right here is pretty cool looking. I don't know the specifics of these particular Haworthias, but what I do know is they are easy to care for in terms of a succulent. They are low light tolerant, surprisingly low light tolerant, and they are drought tolerant. So those are two characteristics of a plant that for me makes a plant a little bit more manageable, easy to care for, one that I would say add to your collection. And I've talked about adding, easy to care for plants to your plant collection. The reason why I've been talking about that nearly as much on this plant video is because I've seen a lot of people send me direct messages where they bought a bunch of calatheas and they ended up dying, and then they get discouraged. And so I want to try to steer a lot of our plant community, especially for those that are beginners. I don't want you to be intimidated by plants. I want us to be able to celebrate the growth of plants, to be able to really find more de-stressors in plants versus being stressed, because the moment I start feeling stressed with my plants is the moment I start to either downsize my plants, or I really have to reevaluate whether I need to add more plants or not. But on the flip side, I've been really bad in just spending a lot of money on my plants. So you already know that Texas Aroid Show will be in Houston, October 26th. I will be an official plant influencer there. Super thankful to the Texas Aroid Show organization for choosing me. But there was some Indonesian vendors, Art Garden Flowers, as well as Green Spaces ID, that I pre-ordered plants. I ended up buying a bunch of Aglaonema. So on top of all of the plants that I'm showcasing and buying and purchasing, I've already got a bunch of other plants I'm going to be picking up at the Texas Aroid Show. So it's really a catch-22. Like, I can't stop buying plants. And I don't know about you guys, but I really do have a legitimate plant addiction. So please leave in the comments if you are also addicted to buying plants. If you already know you should not be buying plants, but you're ending up buying plants, I mean, that is me. That is me 150%. Like, I want to buy this Peperomia obtusifolia, but like, where do I have the space for that? And you know, the plant podcast that we are going to be premiering soon, the Cultivation Corner by Janae Simone, as well as Steven from I Lift Plants, we're all in the same boat where we know we shouldn't be buying plants. We just keep buying them. This is another plant I want to pick up. This one is actually by Oasis Plants, $12.98. Beautiful Tradescanthia Sabrina. And this one is actually pretty compact, so it's not really leggy or stringy. And for $12.98, this is actually a little bit more cost effective than $16.98 from Costa Farms. Like, I'm almost tempted. I was really tempted to pick up this plant and add it to my collection. But then again, I thought of it and I was like, well, where am I going to hang this plant? I already have all of these plants that I have yet to really take care of and groom and manicure. So I'm just going to have to leave this plant right here. Those are kind of the questions that I tell myself, ask myself whenever I go plant shopping. Like, do I need the plant? Is it a need? Is it a want? Is it a for later, or is it a now? And, you know, for plant foldies watching this video today, if you can give me some commentary on the plants that you need, the plants that you want, the plants that you've set aside, and the plants that you needed now, I would really like to know your insights. Again, it brings me so much joy just to be able to hear from y'all. So please leave in the comments if you have some of those insights for me. And then you can see right here, beautiful silver plants. So this is a Syndapsis trubii Moonlight, very slow growing plant. This one's for $19.98. And for this particular Syndapsis, you want to give it quite a bit of light, bright indirect light, for it to really have that silvery tone on it. It has that bluish tone as well. Otherwise, it's not going to give you the best coloration. It's the same thing with the Epipremnum alplissimum silver streak pothos. You see how it has some silver streaks on it? That is a result of the plant getting some really good lighting. And that's the thing about lighting. Lighting really does dictate the plant's health. As a rule of thumb, if you're able to provide a lot of these Indo-tropical plants with more bright indirect light, they're going to give you the best growth, the best variegation, and just the best health it can possibly give them. And then we're going to look at this one. This one is another type of Dracaena, and this one is a Live Trends. I would pretty much say hydroponic or propagation for $18.98. So I do think it's a little bit pricey, but you can see that it is in a modern type of propagation vase. This is a plant though that when grown in a hydroponic situation, it's going to be super easy because all you have to do is refill the water. The thing about growing plants in straight water is you do need to give it some plant nutrients. So what I've realized as far as plant nutrients, I use the Fox Farm liquid fertilizer, and it has done very well for me. I do half doses from what it's asking for the gallon, and all of my plants growing in pond or leca or even straight water have done very well. And then obviously this is a plant, like if you haven't bought already, I want everybody to buy this. This is a Dracaena, Janet Craig compacta. This one is for $12.98 by Costa Farms in a 6-inch planter. That's actually a pretty good deal. And this is a plant that is not going to give you a lot of trouble. The only trouble you'll get is if you overwater it, because this plant is low light tolerant, drought tolerant, and can get into a pretty good size. Now this is a Balfouriana Aralia or variegated Aralia, and take a look at that variegation there. Really beautiful variegation. This is another one that when I was in the Philippines, literally I was seeing these into full-blown bushes. They were like 4 to 5 feet in height. Beautiful variegation. I mean, this is another one that I've sent to Plant Heaven a couple of times, and I really want to be able to grow this plant, but for some reason I'm just not able to grow it in my indoor conditions. And so that's one that I've kind of like held off from actually adding into my collection. But I'm just going to show you some more Costa Farms plants. You can see again $12.98, Dracaena Janet Craig compacta, and we're going to just see what other plants that they have here. This Lowe's doesn't seem to have as much plant selection, more so just a restock, but we're going to see what we can find today.
Through the pain, you were never once so bad. Cut the cord that kept us connected, blacking out the mirror where your light once reflected. All of the love from up above, we used to feel like a glove.
You can see plant foldies. I picked up several exotic angels by Costa Farms starter planters, as well as urban jungle hanging baskets. This one is a purple waffle plant for $5.98. You can see that we do have these terracotta planters. This one is a Syndapsis Silver Ann by Urban Jungle. Again, this is for $22.98. And you can see that it is a little bit thirsty because you can see the leaves kind of curling that way. This one doesn't have nearly as much variegation. And again, for me, I'm not as in tune with the Syndapsis. Maybe it's also because it doesn't have like a natural shine about it. And then you can see right here, this is super cute. I do find the dogtail cactus really nice. This is another plant though that needs a lot of bright indirect light. This is considered a tropical type cactus. This one is for $16.98. So it's in a 6-inch planter. For me, this would be more manageable if I were to add this into my collection. I think it's really cool. I do love that it's got the prickly spikes, but it's kind of like a soft fuzzy one. And then you can see we have another Urban Jungle terracotta hanging basket of a Syndapsis Silver Ann. And as far as Syndapsis, I only have one. I have a Syndapsis Silver Ann, but I would love to add a Syndapsis exotica because I do like the larger foliage. I think with Syndapsis though, they tend to get smaller and smaller leaves if you let them grow and trail. They really want to climb up a pole or a moss pole. That's where you get the best size on the leaves. This one is for $24.98. So you can see that these hanging baskets are a little bit pricey, but for Urban Jungle, like I don't even mind this one. This one is for $16, or I think is it $16 or $14.98. Philodendron heteroraceum, just a green form. That is another plant that I have yet to add to my collection. If I find it as an Urban Jungle hanging basket in an 8-inch planter for $12.99, it's going to go home with me. And so I have places that I know the plant pricing. So if I'm looking for hanging baskets in 8-inch planters, I'm going to go to Kroger grocery store. So if you go to Kroger grocery store, typically they will have these 8-inch hanging baskets for $12.99. And so that's the reason why, if you haven't already plant foldies and you live in the local Dallas-Fort Worth area, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you have the notification bell on, because I do try to keep you guys up to date with the plant pricing. I just feel like you get the best plant pricing, the most current plant pricing, when you watch my plant shopping videos. But as you can see right here, this one is a Peperomia Ginny. I've had one of these before, and even though Peperomia Ginny is actually pretty drought tolerant, when you don't water it for a month, you're still going to send that to Plant Heaven. And that's really me pushing the edges of some of my plants. Some of my plants really don't need to not be watered for more than a month, but life gets in the way. And I feel bad, but I also like to be transparent that I'm definitely not a perfect plant, parent. I am one that can be sometimes negligent with my plants, and I've learned it, and my plants have punished me because I have lost quite a bit of money sending plants to Plant Heaven. Like this one right here is a Dracaena Florida Beauty. I love it because of the speckling. It has that cosmic universal vibe about it, but that is another plant that not only needs quite a bit of bright light, but is also a thirsty plant. Same thing with the Costa Farms Croton plants. This is a Croton Petra. As much as I love Crotons, when you grow them indoors, you want to keep them watered consistently, and they need quite a bit of light. Crotons in general, if you can grow them outside, they're going to do better for you. They're going to perform better for you outside. This Peperomia Ginny, though, it is an easy to care for plant. So that's another genus of plants I would recommend, especially the Peperomia obtusifolias. Those plants that have more of like a waxy texture to the leaves are going to be a little bit more forgiving for somebody beginners. And then you can see right here, I love, when I say I love the Snow White waffle plant, because look at this. They've got so much coloration on it. $7.98. The thing about this plant though is it needs higher humidity levels, and you need to water this plant often. If you let this thing dry out, it will crisp up. So I've sent 2 Snow White waffle plants to Plant Heaven. My third one is doing okay. It's one of those plants again that I probably need to just have near my my sink, near my kitchen window. That way I will not ignore it. It's not going to be something that I just kind of forget about and not water. There are certain plants that you can get away with not watering or forgetting about. I would say snake plants, sansevierias, Hoyas of all plants, I didn't realize were very forgiving for not watering them often. Dracaenas as well, like this Dracaena Limelight. Beautiful plant. That is another plant that actually can grow into a pretty good size. And so I'm just going to keep picking up some plants, plant foldies. Let me know what exotic angel Costa Farm plants you like, which ones you purchase, what do you think about them, because the majority of the ones I'm picking up are only for $5.98, and that's actually not a bad plant price at all. Plant foldies, you can see that there's not as many plants to pick and choose from. It's pretty much the same. Like this one right here, beautiful Pachira aquatica, $18.98. This is a Pachira aquatica stump. I prefer that actually more so than the braided forms. And then we've got another Epipremnum alplissimum silver streak Pothos. Can't get enough of these. And this plant is actually easy to propagate. It isn't a self-watering planter by Costa Farms. And for those that have never used self-watering planters, I feel like if you're somebody who second guesses yourself on whether to water a plant or not, self-watering planters have become a really good asset in terms of just scheduling your watering. And plant foldies, here's another Hydra Helix. This one is for $5.98. This one's not looking as healthy though, so that would be one that I would just be a little bit cautious about because it might have some spider mites. I get a little bit nervous about Hydra Helix, especially when grown indoors, because they are big spider mite prone. This one is for $20.94 or 24 cents. Hoya carnosa in a hanging basket, 8-inch hanging basket by Costa Farms. That's actually a pretty good deal as well. And then this is another one that I really should add to my collection. I want this Polynesian ivy. It's got a beautiful blue grayish tone about it, and I just feel like this plant would be easy to care for. It looks like it would be easy to propagate. Plant foldies that actually have grown the Polynesian ivy, please leave in the comments if this is an easy to care for plant. This is another plant that I would consider a want, but not necessarily a need. It's not necessarily a now. It's whenever I feel like is going to be the best time to actually get this plant. So we're going to see what that looks like. But that is a plant I've had on my wish list for a while. I mean, it's not a plant that I would say is actually, rare. It's one of those plants that I just find very intriguing and interesting. And then as I pan around here, you can see that there are some more live transplants. A lot of the plants that this particular Lowe's unfortunately has been picked through. I really do wish that, maybe I am being a little bit more critical just because I have a little bit higher standard for this particular Lowe's, because in the past, I've seen this Lowe's have some phenomenal plants, phenomenal styling, phenomenal just organization. But today, if I'm going to be completely transparent and honest, I'm a little bit disappointed, but that doesn't mean that this place doesn't have some viable plants that you could add to your plant collection. You just have to look a little bit more so. I mean, I would say of all the plants I picked up today, it would have to be the Polynesian ivy that I would add to my collection if I were to buy a plant today. But unfortunately, or maybe it's fortunate that I didn't buy any plants today, it's really saving me a little bit more money. They always say the best way to save money is to not spend money. And I was actually surprised that I ended up not spending money. And I did want to just show you a short clip. So I was actually at another big box store called Target. These are some Halloween themed live trends planters. Look at these skull planters. They look really creepy, and I love the little tarot card looking placard that it has. These are all only for $15, and actually that is a really good price. And that's the thing about Target. I just wish Target would just have more plants available as like maybe Lowe's or Walmart. But when they do have plants, I really love the fact that they have some really stylish plants. Like these are better planters that I've seen by Live Trends, especially when they are seasonally relevant for the holiday season. You can see that they have some fresh and healthy looking plants. Like this is a beautiful Alocasia black velvet. Again, this is only for $15. And that's the thing I admire about Target. They always have quality products. They also have very good products, value products. Like this one right here, Calathea lancifolia. But look at how creepy that that skull planter is. Again, these are only for $15. And I feel like sometimes Target has that reputation of being more of an expensive big box store. But truthfully, Target has some really good value. They've got some really good sales. And overall, they have some high quality products, including their live trends plants. So overall, super excited. I just wanted to insert this clip because I don't really do a lot of big box store plant shopping videos at Target because they don't have nearly as big of a selection. But when they do bring in plants, they have some awesome ones like this. Look at this one right here. This is a philodendron moonlight. Really like that a lot. And you better believe I ended up buying a philodendron moonlight. I love that neon color foliage, and it's only for $15. So I'm surprised that Live Trends didn't really release these skull planters out at like Lowe's or maybe even Walmart. This is at Target. So if you happen to be shopping at Target, check this out. And then they also have some dishes of some succulent arrangements only for $15, and these are immaculate as well. These are by Wild Interiors, and for $15 that is not a bad price at all. You've got some echeverias as well as a crusala. So if you like this video today, please make sure you hit this like button. I really would appreciate the support if you hit the like button. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of my plant shopping videos. I will have another brand new one tomorrow, Saturday evening. As always, this is Richie at Growfold. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you already know I'll have some new content this weekend. I'll see you soon.